Oh, well, everyone's doing. They're like, you're so excited for the snow. And I am, but I'm well aware that it is not staying.
It is a fleeting moment.
It is a fleeting moment.
A fleeting
moment.
However, it is a sign of things to come.
It is, and I'm excited for the things to come. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Matt and Fiona Show. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, you know the drill, do the like and the shares and all those things. All right, we are going to jump right in today.
We are.
And today is, tomorrow. When you're seeing this,
today.
Potentially, if you watch it on the day it comes out. It is Remembrance Day up here in Canada and
Veterans Day in the
States. So first of all, thank you to all the veterans and everyone who has served.
Yes.
To me, that's always a big deal, even though I never did.
I understand, yeah.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about history today because it is Remembrance Day, Veterans
Day.
And just kind of touch on the fact that I feel like often we overlook the importance of history.
Very much so.
And as a big history buff myself, specifically anything military related, I've kind of watched the last, probably 10 years as a lot of terms and a lot of things have been thrown around, both generically in the world, both politically, also in the church world, that show me a lack of understanding of history.
Yes.
And I told you last night when we were talking about what we were going to talk about today, that I was not going to get political, and I'm still not going to get political. Don't give them that look. But we've become very lackadaisical with our word choices.
Soft.
And last week we talked about the importance of words. Mm-hmm. And in this in this realm, the importance of words goes hand in hand with a lack of understanding about history.
Correct.
Because if you understood what those words actually mean and what they depicted, you wouldn't call your political rival that. Because that is not what we're talking about.
Right.
Right? Again, I said no politics or minimal politics. So I'm not jumping into that. But a couple of, 7-8 years ago, there was a commentator on the Canadian hockey channels who said, hey, y'all need to wear your poppies. And he got lambasted for some phrasing he used, which I still don't have a problem with, because he was literally telling young people to wear a poppy. And the reason here that we wear a poppy is in remembrance of people that have served and ultimately sacrificed their lives for our freedom, for the battles that we were fighting, right? It's a symbol in Canada and in Britain of that remembrance. And it's based on a fantastic poem in Flanders Fields. If you don't know it, go look it up. It's fantastic. It was written back during World War I.
Right.
Where essentially the dead had been buried. Mm-hmm. And where they had been buried was in a poppy field, and thus, after they were buried, poppies rose up, hence why we wear the poppy. Fun little history side note for you.
Yeah, history tidbit in our history podcast.
But it's something where I've noticed this especially as Cohen has grown up.
Yes.
And getting a little bit older, he's become a really big history buff as well. I'm shocked I don't know where he gets it from. But it has forced me to look at not just my understanding of history, but if I'm having a conversation with you about, World War I or World War II or the Holocaust or like just all of those things, right? We can have a very entertaining, for me, conversation about these things.
Right.
We can talk about military plans and planning and all kinds of things that I love.
We can talk about it.
That's what I said. But you have to take that understanding and recognize what the audience is.
Right.
Right? So if I'm talking to you about it or to one of my friends who has also become a, military history buff, that's a different conversation than the one I have with Cohen.
Absolutely.
And when Cohen wants to learn more about the Red Baron or, trench warfare or whatever, knowing your history and being able to parse that into the realm in which you're talking about is very important, right? And takes a lot to understand that. And as we've, gone through with him trying to determine what he's comfortable hearing and learning about,
Right.
and saying, as much as I want him to be able to watch Band of Brothers with me, I think he's close. But I'm also not watching Saving Private Ryan with him.
Right.
That one's a little too much.
Right.
Right. I'm not watching Sisao with him, which you don't even know about. But that's okay.
No.
Amazing if you haven't seen it. Oh my gosh. There's, you have to understand it, because if you don't truly understand it, you can't articulate it to different levels, right?
Correct.
Of who you're talking to. And whether we're talking about word choices, whether we're talking about, in his case, just general conversations about those battles, you have to be very cautious. And every time we come into Remembrance Day or Veterans Day, I continually, not that I get excited for this, because that's not right.
No, but you have a heart and a passion.
But I love military history, so I get excited. I typically will, watch Band of Brothers again. I will watch a bunch of other war movies. I'll start reading some books about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because I love learning more about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? When I hear, again, in the political realm, when I hear people start talking about stuff, and anytime they ever say anything to me, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Do you understand what that word means? And the history of that word? Because I don't think you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't say that, because that's not applicable. We are stretching things quite a lot. But when we were talking about this and, kind of how we were going to talk about it, she told me I was not allowed to do an entire thing on the history of World War I and World War II, even the Korean War.
You're welcome.
We could talk about Nam. I like Nam too. The Cold War's entertaining.
You promised.
The Falcons. Come on.
You can have your own podcast on that.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Problem solved.
But it got me, as we were talking about it, it got me thinking about the importance of our history, right? Mm-hmm. And whether you are looking at the history of the faith,
Right.
history of the Gospels, history of Jesus, all of those things. Like, we were just away and the kids were watching an animated aside, maybe, to The Chosen.
Oh, right.
And, it's The Chosen's fairly historically and biblically accurate. This one was a fun aside to it that the kids were loving. And Cohen had come up to me at one point. He's like, Daddy, I really like this one, but this episode, they talked about this and that's not accurate.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, it becomes that whole, you have to know not only your Bible, but how to articulate that in conversations with different people, depending on who you're talking to and what level they're at, right? You have to understand that history. You have to understand the background.
Absolutely.
Because you can get into a very fluffy conversation about something. You can get into an incredibly deep conversation about something. And the only thing that allows you to do that when you're talking to someone or sharing or answering questions is having a deep understanding of that history.
Now, the other thing,
Yes,
and
go ahead.
just commenting back to what you said earlier, the other thing that you have to be careful with, which is causing some kerfuffles along the way, is accuracy of that understanding.
Are you saying that history is written by the victors?
I said nothing
I did.
other than
I said history is written by the victors.
There needs to be a sense of accuracy, and that includes, because there's a lot of distortion these days, both in
Oh, yeah.
recent historical occurrences and biblical historical occurrences, and knowing and recognizing the truth on both sides
Oh, yeah.
is kind of your responsibility.
Well, I had a conversation with Pastor, I don't know, a month ago maybe,
Right?
about there'd been a kerfuffle online, if you will, over a book that was from the era of the Bible and was not in the Bible. And I just wanted to know his opinion on it. I've never read it. I don't care. But just wanted to have a conversation with him about it. And man, he broke that thing down for me real fast, which was amazing, because not that I didn't think he knew about it or knew what it was, but I was very impressed and honestly a little surprised about how much he knew about it.
Right.
Just because it had literally never come up. I've never heard him talk about this. And most of the things he talks about, I spend a lot of time with him.
Yes. They usually come up in conversation.
Is the easy way to say that. But he broke down how, yes, it's a historical text from the time, but it's not inspired, right?
Right.
And I've heard a lot of people recently who are bringing that text up as if it deserves to be part of the canon of the Bible, and that it was excluded for these reasons. But when you go back to it, the Bible, although is a history book, quote unquote, it's the inspired word of God. This is not where I was planning to take this at all, but you brought that up, so I'm now digging into it for a second.
Go for it.
Whereas there's a lot of other historical text from the time that are not inspired. They're just historical records. Yeah. And you have to be able to parse the two from each other, right? That there is a difference to inspired versus historical.
Right.
But the other thing that this had kind of got us thinking about was, it's great to know the history and, essentially where all your beliefs come from. But it's also important to remember your actual history, right? And like we talk about this all the time, when we're fighting a battle, whatever that battle is, the ability for us to go back and look at the previous times that the Lord has brought us out of something.
Our victories.
Brought us through whatever fight we're in. That, greater is he that's in the world.
Greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world.
Yep.
I knew where you were going. I got you.
To be able to go back and look at that staff, right? And look at the history of your walk with God.
Right.
Whether you've been a Christian for a week, whether you've been a Christian for a month, a year, 10 years,
A lifetime.
a lifetime. You have all of these times where God has shown up. And when you're walking through any battle, the ability to go back and look at and remember that history.
So I'm just going to add to that.
Yeah.
If that's something that you haven't done before, and I know pastors encourage us to do it. It's been a while since he has, but he's encouraged us to do it. And it's a good exercise, but to write down the victories that you've had over time, of the times that God has come through for you, whether it's big or small, because we can't just always focus on the large things, but there are moments within time where we know, God was there with us. And write those down, because the enemy wants you and is going to work hard to kind of steal that from you and make you forget those moments, or shift your thinking away from look what the Lord has done, and to be able to have your history of what God has done for you written down in times, so that in times of when you are struggling or fighting, you can go back and say no. And you could honestly throw it in the enemy's face and be like, look, no, this is what my God has done for me.
Yeah.
These are the times he's come through. My God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I serve the same God. These are his promises to me. I have seen his promises operating in my life. And with whatever I'm facing now, due to my history with my Heavenly Father, I know that what is in front of me, I too will overcome.
Yeah.
And there is an importance to your history and your walk with Jesus, not so that we can just look in the rearview mirror, but so that we have it as our own personal testimony and examples of who God is and what he's done for us, as a way to encourage ourselves, so that we know that moving forward, just as he was with us, he is with us and he will be with us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just an important thing to do. Write down your history with him and what God's done for you.
There's a statement, and I know who it's normally attributed to, but it's not actually. Churchill never actually said this, so I'm not going to attribute it to him. But the statement is that those who do not understand history are doomed to repeat
Yes.
it. Again, not Churchill. I can't remember who it is. Everyone says it's Churchill, but it's not. Okay. He said a lot of great things. Not
Yes.
this one.
Okay. But yes, very true.
But that is one of those things that anytime we're ever having a conversation with someone and trying to not restore their faith, but when they're fighting that battle, right? It always comes up into the like, look what the Lord has done for you. And so often people forget that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's easy when you're in the midst of the battle, you forget, right? But when you look at every battle you've ever faced that the Lord has brought you out of, again, if you have something that allows you to go back to that and, for lack of a better term, leverage that.
Yeah, lean on it. Yeah.
Lean on it and say, we're fighting this today, but look what he did back there for us.
Again, that comes to that same God.
Yeah.
Brought you through then, can bring you through now. And that is also, and this is, again, totally not really related, but still related at the same time. That is where that kind of heart of gratitude, which I know we talk about, and this is not that message, but that heart of gratitude of being able to find those things. It's that same thing. In those dire moments, try to pick out those things you are grateful for. In those hard times, try to find those times that in your history, in your past, that your Lord and Savior has come through for you and what he's brought you out of. It says in the scriptures that he brought you out of the miry muck. So if you have a relationship with him somewhere, some way along the line, he's brought you out of it. May not be the miry muck you're in today, but there's a miry muck back there that he brought you out of. And remember that part of your history, because if he brought you out of the miry muck back then, he can do it again today.
Yeah.
And that is an important fact that, again, when you're in the midst of whatever you're in the midst of, and I mean, I can relate to this, and I understand it. There are so many times where I want to second guess and be like, yeah, I know he did that for me back then, but like, it's different now. And this is just hard. And how am I going to get through it? Because is this the one, the one that I can't get through? No, it's not. And the enemy wants you to think that, no, this is your moment, that the failure is going to occur. But you felt that way through your past and through the history behind you, that those moments were going to be the moments that you weren't going to make it out of. And when you look back, you made it out of all of those moments. And sometimes those moments are just, you made it through a day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sometimes it can be that serious and it can be that severe of, I made it through the day. At the end of the day, my head hit the pillow. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's those little things that you need to find, you need to focus on, you need to find comfort in, knowing that if nothing else, you made it through that day. But look back at all the times the Lord's brought you out of the miry muck in your past and in your history. Not because we focus on our past and our history, but because they are evidence of what God has done, can do, and will do.
What's that? What's the song? It's Evidence. Right, by Josh Baldwin.
Yep.
And I think it's the chorus is, I see the evidence of your goodness all around me. Right?
Yes.
And, again, history is one of those things. If you want to find a hot button topic with me, this is one of them. Right?
True.
The lack of, as Christians, as parents, right? As husband and wife, the number of times that you can look at the situation you're in right now and think that the walls are closing in, right? It's the hardest it's ever been,
right?
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
All you have to do is look around and go, he's been there.
Yep.
Look at everything we have.
Yep.
Right? And I'll pick on us for a minute because I don't want to just pick on me, so I'll pick on us. We can go through something and it can be hard and it can be tough. And like this morning we were trying to get out of bed and Noah was being very fun and slightly annoying. And
Don't
again,
tell him I said that.
Not that it was challenging, not that it was tough, but it's one of those things where like, he's bugging me.
It can push your buttons.
Yeah, because I'm trying to get up and do something. And if I look at it in that moment, it's frustrating.
Right.
But then when I go back and I look at our staff, I look at our history and what we've walked through to have kids.
Right.
Let alone what we walked through with just him alone. Right?
Yeah.
When you can leverage all of that, then that moment this morning is nothing.
Right. Well, yes.
And it just, I find that we are living in a TikTok world. Right? We are living in the realm of reels. If it's 60 seconds, gosh, those first 15 better be very engaging. Otherwise, you're not watching the whole the other 45.
Right.
Right? Because of how society has geared us to that, we don't ever look back unless it's bad. For some reason, when it's
that is
when
like
it's
our
bad,
default.
we can look back to that time someone was mean to us when we were in 6th grade.
Yeah, we hold on to it.
But we miss the
victories. That's not the kind of history we're talking about. Like
No.
that's the kind of history we want you to erase and get rid of, because that is not who you are or what you were created to be.
But the victories that we have are the ones that we seem to not be able to understand. And it's something that I continually tell myself. We continually work this through.
Encourage each other in it. Yeah.
You have to know your history, right? You have to know what
you have to here. You have two histories. You have a history with the enemy.
Yeah.
And you have a history with your God. Right? You need to separate that out, because old things have passed away, all things have been made new. The enemy works very hard to eliminate your history with God and to highlight your history with him.
Yeah, your failures with him.
Your failures, your disappointments, your problems, your concerns, your worries. And what needs to occur in your history is and this is a mental thing.
Yep.
This is something that you need to decide on, you need to work on, but you need to shift your focus off of the history you have with the enemy. And you need to shift your focus so that you remember the history that you have with your God.
Yeah.
Because that is where the victories come. That's where the healing comes. That's where your provision comes. That's where the power comes. Everything. So like the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that is a history that the enemy wants you to be reminded of, that he wants to put in front of your face all the time. But God is like, no, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. I've done it for you in the past. Sorry, I'm not going to hit you. I've done it for you in the past, and I'm here to do it for you today, and I will do it for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you have to put your trust in me, right? So I pulled this up as you were talking earlier, because a lot of times we do focus so much on the woe is me and the man, that's hard. And gosh, how am I going to get through this? And, from as simple as whether it's something you're fighting with healing, whether it's something you're fighting with your family, whether it's something you're fighting with provision. In 2 Corinthians 4:8, it says, we are hard pressed on every side. True, yet not crushed. We are perplexed. May be true, but you are not in despair. You may be persecuted, but you are not forsaken. You may be struck down, but you will never be destroyed. And God also says that you will have temptation, you will go through trials and tribulations, but he will never leave us, and he will never give us more than what we can handle.
Yeah.
And there's something in that no matter what you've been through, no matter what you're in the midst of right now, find and search out and write down the histories of your victories.
Yeah. Yep.
Because there's strength and power in it. And your God has a history with you. And that's what your focus needs to be on, not the history you have with the enemy, which is what he's trying to get you to focus on. And there's a huge distinction in that.
We've talked about this concept in a couple past episodes of, when you're sharing your history, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is an easy way to check yourself.
Right.
If when you're sharing your testimony, if it is 90% the garbage you were in,
right,
and the battle you were in, and 10% the victory you had with God, you got the numbers reversed.
Yeah, the focus is on the wrong.
The focus, it's fine to say, I was a sinner, and now I'm walking with Christ. What it doesn't need to be is this huge explanation of all the sin you did.
Right.
And then, but God saved me. Because it doesn't pull the focus.
Right.
Right? It shows you, if you look at it, it'll show you what you're focusing on.
Right.
And we need to focus on the victory. We need to focus on what we've been pulled out of and into.
Right there, yes.
Right? We're pulled into glory. We are trying to be more Christ-like. You can't be Christ-like if you're always talking about how you used to be devil-like.
Right. No, but the old man has passed away and all things have been made brand new. So it's not part of you.
Yeah.
It's not certain situations, but it is all things.
It is.
But it's up to us. God's opened that door for us and he has given it to us, but he has left it in our court to make that transition within our heart, within our soul, within our mind, and with all our strength.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We've got to learn to learn from our history, right?
Absolutely.
Leverage your history.
God's history.
Well, yeah. Nobody talks about the losers.
Right.
Like no, but
Right.
we started this off talking about history
Right.
and Remembrance Day, right?
Yes.
We don't talk about the huge battles we lost,
Right.
right? Those are footnotes.
Right.
History is written by the victors.
Yeah.
Again, for better or worse, but history is written by the victors. It is about the victories.
So that comes down to, are you victorious and do you have a story to write?
Well, we all do.
No, but
Yes.
but is that what that's what your story
Is that your
should
focus?
be? Yes. If it's written by the victors, we need to be victorious.
Case in point, yes. They do go hand in hand.
They do go hand in hand.
Oh, hand in hand.
Really? Am I?
Nope. Oh, you
Okay.
had a chance and you ruined it.
I'm sorry.
All right, we are going to wrap it there. Thank you so much for joining us. She does normally like to hold my hand.
I do
I
actually
was a
all
little
the
shocked
time.
by that,
I'm
but
sorry.
anyways, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We are looking forward to next week's episode. Until then, see ya.
Bye now.